Hey everybody! It's a new week. It's a new week of Quilt Nerd. The best thing, the best thing going. The best live stream, right? The best nerdy quilt person live stream around. I mean, I think so. It's great to see you. It was one of those nights. Hey Myra, hey everybody. Whoa, Quilty, I'm so happy that you're here. And I saw another, it was one of those nights where I was, well, I don't know if I'm ready. The show was wild. I have so much content. I don't know. There's a lot, so I hope it goes okay. But it was one of those nights where I was ready by 7:08 to sit down. And if you're new here, by the way, I start about 10 minutes after the hour because notifications, hit people's phones and, people come in and kind of chat with each other. So that's on purpose. Quirk Quilts, thank you for subscribing. Oh wait, did you, hang on. Oh, Hype Train is close. That's so exciting. And oh yeah, okay, you subscribed and that's great. And all the welcome baskets in the chat. Okay, sorry. So it's one of those nights where I kind of was ready, before 10 minutes after the hour. And so I sat down and was just kind of looking at the chat and everything. And it's so nice to see that. And I noticed, a few new people, this is great. Quilty, I'm so glad you're here. One of my announcements, you see, I have my Quilt Nerd content plan. And one of my announcements is that, it's not an announcement. It's on my to-do list that I gotta get my YouTube. I gotta get the episodes, from last week or a couple weeks ago uploaded to YouTube. I just have to get into the habit where pretty much every time I do a show, I need to get a show from, I gotta get into the mode of doing that, right? Because for subscribers, thank you to all my subscribers. For subscribers, you get to watch the videos on demand, right? On the Twitch channel, just whenever you want, right away. And then for those who aren't subscribed, you get to watch the shows for free, always on Twitch, always while they're live. And then I'll upload them to YouTube. I don't want to say eventually, but soon, and I want to get into the habit where I do that really consistently because it's new for me to do that. So I'm working on it. But then anyway, I'm really glad you're here, Quilty. And I saw BB. And BB, you have to know, I'm glad you're here too. And you have to know that my term of endearment, in fact, my husband and my term of endearment is that. I don't know, I think the French folks, they the name for babies is bébé, right? Isn't it bébé? It's something like that. I don't know, but it's like B-E-B-E with an accent on the E is just how we say it. So bébé. So you B-E-B-E. So you reminded me of my bébé. So anyway, so that's really great that there's new folks here. You made a good choice today to come into the show because it's a pretty great community. And I put it in the Instagram post that I did a few hours ago. Another thing I have to do is start posting on Instagram, more than an hour before the show. I don't know. I hate social media so much. Oh, I've always hated it. So I have to get better at doing that because, if a post is seen by 10 people an hour before the show, then, maybe not a lot of people will see the post in time. But I'm the worst salesperson. I'm so bad at it. I think it's probably because I have imposter syndrome and I'm just why would anybody care? So, but I don't know. I got to do it. So anyways, yeah, I'm glad you're here, and thank you to all my subscribers and followers and mods. Thank you so much for being a mod. So there's a few so we start this show. If you've never seen the show is about quilts because, I didn't used to be into them, so much. I was growing up in a quilt family, but I don't know. I mean, I was doing my own thing, writing, performing, making performance art. I never hit myself with a fish and screamed, because sometimes performance art can be like that. But I was a neo-futurist, here in Chicago, which is this great ensemble, legendary even. So I was making performance art, and I was doing writing and making a living, and then I was asked to be on my mom's TV show, and she taught quilt making on TV, and I was like, yeah, I need the gig, so I did it. And I got married, and I got divorced, and I got really sick, and then I just was like, I think I'm gonna make a quilt, to like heal. And it worked. It totally worked. And I got into making quilts, and then a few years ago, like 5 years ago, I guess, I started to really look at quilts, like really look at them. And what I found was that quilts are this wonderful way to sort of be curious about the whole world, because when you look at quilts, you look at history, and you look at philosophy, and you look at economics and women, and it's pretty fascinating. You can meet the whole world when you look at quilts really closely. And so art, did I mention art and fashion? Yes, fashion. Hey, Shelly Sutton, your second live show. Hey, you know what? Shelly Sutton, everybody. Yay! I'm so glad you're here. Oh, I have so much to tell you. I mean, there's announcements that I gotta. Fiandor, thank you. Thank you for the music. We have a soundboard here. I don't know if you noticed, but we do, and it's a lot of fun. So, anyway, so I do a lot of research for articles and for lectures, and I don't know, a lot of things. I mean, I just do lots of stuff. More soon. Oh God, so I'm a quilt consultant for a project in Hollywood. So I mean, I hope so. I told you all that a few weeks ago, or last week or something, and I really need to chill before I haven't signed a contract yet. So let's just put that to the side. But yeah, so I do all this research, and I find such wonderful things. Tonight is a great example. Every show is a great example of this wonderful stuff that I find when I start looking into, quilts and things out in the world and culture. And I was so sad because so much of it, 90% of it, I could never share with anybody because, where am I going to share it? Only so much can go into a magazine article. Only so much can go into a lecture. And so, I was like, why don't I do a live show and basically like live stream my research? But it's way better than that. It's not like I'm like, it's much more active than that. And the most wonderful thing, hey Castle Crips, the most wonderful thing is the community that is forming here. The people that are here, because of course if you're not here. Wah, wah, wah. So thank you for being here. And I'm going to say hi to some folks. Word and Bird Nerd, and Myra, and Bonnie, and Kay. It's so Kay. It's so Kay. I didn't really hear that one till later. It's brilliant. Sue and Kelly and Bip. It's Bib. But I read it as Bip early on. Thanks for cheering, Faith. Hey, wait a minute. Where's this? Why is this alert box? It should be in front of my head. I can make it happen. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Okay. So I just like calling her Bip. And Shelly. Okay, good. This is great. And Padma. You watched an episode of Quilty. God bless. The hair has changed many times. I contain multitudes, Padma. I have to change it all the time. In fact, I need a haircut so badly I can hardly stand it. That's going to happen on next Wednesday. Flora, I'm so glad to see you. This is great. It's good to see you. Welcome. Kelly and Ivy. Ivy is here. I got such a great show for you. Yes, I'm going to upload some more videos. Susan. Woo. Susan. Miss Elaney and Faith and Jill. And I may be repeating some people. Larry. I'm glad you're here, Mother Nature. And by the way, if I miss you, hey Days Toss, if I miss you, and and because it's my mom. My mom might show up, by the way, in the chat. Padma, I saw your message about Karen Brown. I love it. I'm so glad that was the way it went. She's awesome. So El Riggs, hello. My mom said, Mary, you can't say hi to everybody. You can't take 10 minutes to say hi to absolutely everybody in the chat because it takes too long. And she's right. Quilts, she's right. So you just have to be, active in the chat. And then I'll be able to say hi to you, throughout the show, because it's true. Things are getting crazy. And so Hani, hi. And so, the more people who, I'm so funny. The more people who show up, MC Johnny, you like the background? I do too. So the more people who come by, hey Liz, Ivana, hi, the more that we, the longer it'll take. So anyway, okay, Myra, this is good. This is on my announcement thing. Myra says, loved your Instagram strategy today. A post on the grid as opposed to a story. Also makes it easier for us to share as opposed to having to do a screen capture of a story and tag you. Engagement is wonderful. Okay, yes. Okay, so that's one of my announcements today. So let's get into the show. Hello to everybody and welcome. So one of my announcements is, new strategy for Instagram promotion. Don't read ahead. So one of the things what happens when I'm reading something to Eric or, and he always looks over my shoulder. I'm like reading something to him, like, oh, listen to this article. This is so great. And he'll be like, I'm like, don't read ahead. And so I say that on this program. So yeah, I think I need to figure out one of my goals for the show now that I'm home and, things are just sort of less crazy. I need to figure out how to promote this show. I mean, if you're new to Twitch, like, same. All of us are new to Twitch. Quilt makers are not on Twitch. It's not a thing that we use. And like I said on my Instagram post today, like, I don't know. I just hate YouTube. I don't want to use it. Twitch is built for live streaming. I want to be different. I just can't. I can't do this on YouTube when I want to. And so I went outside the box, colored outside the lines, and but it's prohibitive, and I know that. I knew it would be. But I think that, when I've posted about Quilt Nerd before, people don't really know what the show even is, and it sort of hit me today. I was like, why don't I tell them what I'm going to do on the show? But the problem is, I don't want any, it's fine if you read ahead. If you're like, oh, here's what's on the show tonight, I'm going to go look it up. Who cares? But let it go, Fons. If people want to look up what's going on, hey, Kelly, if people want to look, hey, Kenny, that's fine. It's great. Like, what is my problem, So I think that's going to be, yeah, Myra, that's going to be the Instagram strategy, because, I don't think people understand what Quilt Nerd is. Why would they, So if it's like, hey, I'm going to talk about this, this, and this, folks might be intrigued and come over and see, So there you go, Myra. Bang. You got it. You love it. I love it. Okay. So a couple things. We have new emotes, but so if you're new, some people are new. And it's great. Emotes or emoticons on Twitch, same thing. And if you're a subscriber, which, by the way, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you get a free Twitch channel subscription every month. Free. Sorry, I'm congested. So if now the mods can help you, some folks can help you. Yes, oh, it's true, Ivana. Yes, exactly. Oh, that's really good. It's so true. Yes. Oh my God. Hey, Mom. My mom's in the chat. What am I gonna do? I still need. Well, here, let's do Dusty Springfield. So, Mom, you get Dusty Springfield. It's an honor. You're my mom, so you get it. So if you have a question about that, you kind of have to poke around. I don't think you can do it on your phone. I'm not sure, but you can get a free subscription with Amazon Prime. So you got to do it every month. It won't just go on in perpetuity, but you can do that and subscribe to the show for free. And I really appreciate it. And tier 1, is $4.99 a month, and you get stuff. You get like no ads, and you get emotes, and that's really fun. So people have found the taco. How did you find the taco? I have not yet announced the taco. All right, here's what's going on. So first of all, if you're a follower, and I know I have some new followers because I got a notification about that. Again, you don't have to ever subscribe to the show. You can watch it for free. It's totally cool. And what I learned when I went to go make sure that I had the emotes correct, because there's like you type in the thing that you need. I'll get to that in a second. I looked on my Twitch thing, and there's emotes for followers too, like special emotes just for followers. So these little emotes that you're seeing, like the welcome basket and that little church thing, if you're a subscriber, you can use those. But there are emotes for followers too, and I didn't know that. I really didn't know it. So the first thing I'm going to do tomorrow is make some special emotes for followers that everyone can use. So I apologize because I didn't know it. I'm learning this thing, as I go. So that'll happen. But for now, you look at you, Ivana. Okay. You found all the new ones. How did you do it? Okay. So what you do, the ones that I made, the new ones, there's a taco, okay? And to do these emotes, you do a little colon and type Yo Mary, and it'll come up Yo Mary Fons, okay? That's my social media handle. Follow me on Instagram, all that stuff. Yo Mary Fons, and then taco. Is that right? Wait a minute. What's happening? Do you do the colon? Yo Mary. Yeah. Colon, Yo Mary Fons. Yeah, you just type Yo, and then you get this long list of emotes. Yo Mary Fons, taco. And the reason that I have a taco is because they come up all the time on the show. It's like a taco thing. And now I need to show you what I tried to do. Now everybody wants a sound effect for tacos, but you know what? Let me show you what I found. It's not going to work. I'm going to hide myself. I'm going to hide. Where's my... Okay, here. I'm going to hide, and I'm going to show you this. It's horrifying. Okay. Look at this. Wait a minute. What's happening? Hang on. Yeah. Okay. Can you see that? Taco sound effects. Let me make it a little bit smaller. So I was looking for a taco sound effect. Look, this is horrible. It's horrible. Listen. I can't use these. Listen. I mean, we're not doing that. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. Yeah, open mouth chewing soft taco? No. Open mouth chewing soft taco, fast and sloppy? Oh, yeah, well, there was an error loading that one. Open mouth chewing hard taco. Hey, Dee Dee. I mean, it's not cool. So, taco shell crunch and crinkle, rattling pieces. I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a little, I don't know, like a little mariachi, like, Olay kind of thing. Something kind of fun like that. I don't know, because it can't be that. Nay, indeed. So, okay, classical guitar, exactly. So there's a taco, and now there's also, there is B-Day, because, people have birthdays. And we should say something, we should do something. So you can do a birthday. And then there's also, let's see. Oh yeah, a yay. Because there's other things to celebrate. And that's an animated one. Yay. So it just it's kind of slow, but it does a thing. La Cucaracha, exactly. Taco Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. So, okay, so those are some fun new things. And the follower emotes, because I really appreciate the follower thing, and if you follow, you get a notification when I go live, and that's really cool. Okay, so enough of that. let's talk about the show. Let's talk about some content. I like content. I can't do a lot of things, but I can do... The new ones are grayed out for you, Padma. That's not cool. What does that mean? Okay, because I see your taco. It's very strange. Well, at least you know the command, and so you can do the thing. Okay, so this quilt behind me, we always start with a different quilt every show to start the show. And now I get small. Help, I'm small. And we talk about this quilt, and you know, it's just like, I don't know, we just started doing it when I got a green screen, and it's really fun. So let me, this show is wild. It's wild tonight. Wait a minute. Where are you? Wait a minute. Nope. Hang on. Ugh. Is it on the printer? No, it's not. That's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. Oh, I bet I know. Yep, here we go. I like paper. Sure, I could read it off my computer, but I don't like that. All right, so this quilt is by Karina Thompson. And it was one of those one-offs that I had in my... Hey, Yvonne, you redeemed some points. You redeemed some thimbles. Thank you for doing that. What's up with quilt panels? When, why, who? Quilt panels. Do you mean like panels that you buy and quilt? Is that what you mean? I want to know. Is that what you mean? Because we can talk about this. Yeah, the taco is moving. I love this quilt too. It was one of those quilts that I have, you know, in my big folder of fascination, and I love it too. I really love it too. I'll put panels on my notes, Yvonne. And I don't have a date on it. I looked for it high and low. I would say, I don't know for sure, 21st century, we don't know. But I do know the person who made it. Yeah, okay, great. Panels, I love it. Yeah, it's a great idea. It's really good. And how old are panels? Okay, by the way, the show, you know, it's freewheeling. We're here a couple hours, you know, sometimes longer. And yeah, we just chat, man. It's chill. If you're sewing, it's like the perfect way to watch this show. Sew, do stuff, housework, I got you. So this is a quilt by Karina Thompson. And she's a textile artist based in Birmingham, England. And she's been exhibiting her work since 1987. So, you know what? I shouldn't assume I know when this quilt is made, because I don't know. But this information is from her website, and this is some pretty interesting stuff, everybody. Pretty interesting stuff. So this is from her biography on her website. As a result of a research fellowship at Winchester School, it's like the best quilt ever for a background. Winchester School of Art, Karina began to experiment with the technique slashing. We'll get to that. And as a result, began to increase the scale of her work. She was shortlisted for Quilt 2004 and became a member of Quilt Art, a collective of some of Europe's most respected quilt makers, in 2005. Her work was chosen for the catalog cover of Quilts in Time, the opening exhibition of the Quilt Museum in St. Anthony's Hall, York, July 2007. Her slashed work, we're going to get to that, was selected for the 4th European... Hey, Robin's Nest. Okay, good to know. The 4th European Quilt Triennial. Like, all of these things are now on my list. Accent UK Art Quilts, at the Quilt Museum, Paducah, USA, and Quilt National, 09. Good job. She began collaborating with VSM UK, limited the UK distributors of FAF sewing machines in 08. Wow, building on research that she had started for a commission for the let me zoom out all the way so you can see this. For the maxillofacial outpatients department at Salisbury District Hospital, she began to translate medical data into digitally programmed embroidery. What? This led to a commission of 12 pieces funded by Cure Leukemia for the Center for Clinical Hematology at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Birmingham. And she's done even more. So she lives in Birmingham with her partner and 2 cats. Okay. The slashed work, I've got information about this, but I'm pretty sure that this is using her digital stitch technique. Okay. I'll read you about the slashed work, and we can look at a picture of that, but I don't want to, I mean, this is the intro quilt. So the intro quilt is kind of one of those things that, that you explore more, right? This isn't the meat of the show. It's something for you to, it's a jump off point. Okay. That's really interesting, Miscellany. Representations of bacteria, perhaps? I don't know. I like that. I like it very much. So her digital stitch technique. Imagery or text is initially cleaned up and edited in Photoshop before being uploaded into FAF's Premiere 2 software. Here, the embroidery can be programmed and further changes made. I use a FAF Creative Vision machine, I'm going to zoom in really tight, to stitch work out. I am particularly keen to challenge the way both the software and hardware suggest the embroidery is created. This technology is allowing me to build imagery in a way I never expected. It feels like the possibilities are endless. And if you missed it, this woman's name is Karina Thompson. She's a quilt maker in the UK. And here's her artist statement on digital stitch. Quote, "Digital technology has changed forever the way we discover, understand, and create. I am intrigued in the way we process and communicate data. The paradox of how essentially important that data may be, yet how intelligible it is to the uninitiated. This is partly true of medical data, where information can literally be a life or death matter. And just as digital technology is changing the diagnosis and treatment of illness, digital technology is changing the way I can work with textiles." Damn, she is really cool. "I can program stitches with pinpoint accuracy, fill areas with decorative satin stitch, and build images with precision. I can make in a way that I could not have imagined when I graduated 25 years ago." Cool, man. The letters do look perfect, Ivana. And the satin stitch for sure is what's going on here, right? What will you do with your anger? Oh, so great. I would say this quilt is pretty masterful. I mean, look at how she's used these really, some of them look sort of Japanese, right? Some sort of lotus stuff going on. Some metallics going on. The pattern, it's just this explosion of pattern. It kind of reminds me of some Miriam Shapiro stuff. Remember from The Artist and the Quilt, Miriam Shapiro was one of the artists who was part of that project. She did, Femage was like her thing, a feminist artist or an artist who did a lot of feminist work, and she did the fans, Her quilt with The Artist and the Quilt was the heart, that heart quilt. Anyway. And so just so you know, because I mentioned this, hey Herb Slops, thanks for following. I appreciate you. Appreciate it. Welcome to Quilt Nerd. It's a nerd party. So this slashed technique, which you should, look at more of her stuff, Karina Thompson. And she says the slash technique. Slashing is a process that involves layering up fabric, stitching usually in parallel channels, and then cutting through to the base layer. Interesting. This can be brushed to fray it, exposing the layers below and producing velvet-like texture. Interesting. So if you go to her website, I don't know if it's KarinaThompson.com, but Google Karina Thompson quilt maker and you'll find it. And she's got pictures of her slash work on her website. Hey, Natalie. Yeah, it does sound like that, Kenny. Some chenille. It does sound like that. Hey, little bird. The thing that gets me is it's so pretty with flowers and prints, yet it's talking about anger. Exactly. Oh. It's a little loud. It's a very astute observation. That's the nerd apple. If you make some astute observation like that. Or like Kenny knows lots of things. He knows about physics and things. Okay, so let me show you this. So I've got a few one-off things tonight. This was going to be the intro quilt, okay? Because it's amazing. Let me, yeah, okay. So it was going to be the intro quilt because, yeah, it's great. But where did my paper go? Where did I put it? Where did it go? What the? Hold on. Where did it go? Hold on. What's happening? Where? I just had it. Did you see where I put it? I'm serious. I have. Where did I put the paper with Katrina? Or with Karina Thompson? Okay, this is crazy. Oh, it's here. Okay, great. Yeah, okay, great. So, no. Okay, sorry guys. Where is that thing? All right, that's fine. That's fine. It's cool. Hang on, just gotta get this. I told you it was like a free. It flows. You know, it flows. Yeah, right. It flows, man. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. Okay, so this was going to be the intro quilt, and I'll zoom in on it, and you will see more of it. And I was gonna use it, but then, oh. Sorry, you might be able to see that. Yeah, you might be able to see that. Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, okay, great. Everything's fine. So I found this one, and it's at the American Folk Art Museum, okay? And I loved it, and then I read what they had to say about it. And I don't know. I mean, again, like, you know, when you're making, you can't make assumptions about things. I mean, you can make assumptions about things and talk about them and be like, what do you think about this? And like, this is an interesting inference to make, and you know, but you know, if you're going to print something or like, you know, you got to do a lot more research. So I don't know for sure, but there's something that doesn't seem right about what the American Folk Art Museum wrote about this quilt. And I could be totally wrong, and I've been wrong before. I have lots of practice with that. So this quilt is called Sacred Bible Quilt Top. That's how they describe it. And it's amazing. I mean, obviously, it's like super amazing. And it's by Susan Arrowwood. So we know the name of the person. It was made between 1875 and 1895. And its Sacred Bible is pronounced, I mean, is spelled like so. Because I believe this is, you know, it's taken from the quilt someplace, and we can't see it here because the resolution isn't high enough for us to read the words on the quilt. But it's 88 by 72. That's right, Mother Nature, indeed. So this has religious scenes and things, and there's an angel there you can see, like over here on the right above my head. So here's what they have to say about this. The Susan is from the American Folk Art Museum. The Susan Arrowwood, who signed this unusual bed cover, is believed to have lived in Westchester, Pennsylvania, at the end of the 19th century. But she has proved difficult to locate in either census or church records of the period. The scenes on this quilt top appear to have their origins in the Bible, although some may also represent activities at a church attended by the maker. Crudely written legends identify many of the scenes, and although the figures may at first appear to have been cut out identically like paper dolls, many have been individualized with slightly different dresses and hairstyles. This bed cover has been compared with the two quilts created by the masterful late 19th century African-American quilt maker Harriet Powers. All three quilts rely in part on the Bible for inspiration and include appliqued scenes as well as figures that are more symbolic than individualized. There was a strong applique tradition among many African groups, and these quilts may have been influenced, even if indirectly, by that cultural history. Although anecdotal information has linked Susan Arrowwood to the African American community, there is no direct evidence for any such connection. This bed cover has been compared, with the two quilts. Oh, that's a repeat. Okay, so sorry. Like when I read that, I was like, huh. Because there's a few things that I mean, look, it's the American Folk Art Museum, right? But I don't understand that because for a few reasons. First of all, this, crude, they use the word crudely written legends identify many of the scenes. It's been compared with Harriet Powers' Bible quilts. And, I mean, the figure, we've seen a good deal of pictorial quilts made by people of color, made by African-American people. Remember the folk art quilt, that's astoundingly extraordinary folk art quilt with the log cabin diamonds and stuff. And I don't know, like that, like, look, when we talk about quilts all the time, we look at quilts from the past, and like a lot of the pictorial quilts, and remember the one from Addie, the American Girl doll? That was a folk art quilt made by a black person, and the figures were black. Like, I see one figure in here who isn't white, and like, I don't know. And this person who made it, Susan Arrowwood, they can't find any information about her. They're like, there's no information about, they cannot find this person. Like the census, whatever. Like they have not proved difficult to locate in either census or church records of the period. And it's in Pennsylvania. Westchester, Pennsylvania. Now, I don't know what the communities were like in Westchester, Pennsylvania at the end of the 19th century. I don't know. But like, I don't know. It just like this, it makes me a little bit like, it's like, what? Like why? Because it's sort of free form or, and the applique tradition among many African groups may have been influenced even if indirectly by that cultural history. Like there's a whole lot of, I don't know, Maud Williams, was it Maud? There was a book, there's been different things written about like how African-American quilts were influenced by like motifs from Africa. I am not an expert on this by any means. I have a lot of reading to do about it. Like, I don't know. But when I read this, I was just like, I'm not doing that as an intro quilt. I find that like, it's like the P word. It's like a little problematic. I just, do you guys see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's true. That's true, Padma. 1,000%. It's just like yeah, so Padma says maybe somebody asked her to make a quilt and told her to make all the figures white. 1,000%. And we don't know. It's just the assumptions made and just like the way they kind of describe the quilt. I don't know, man. Like, because it's about the Bible? and it's like not symmetrical. You know what I'm saying? So I thought I'd share it with y'all because it's really beautiful. It's extremely beautiful, and I don't know. I mean, it's just interesting. We look at a lot of quilts, you know, and we're learning things, and to be critical is a good thing. And again, I could be totally wrong, but like the American Folk Art Museum, like, I don't know. I just want a little bit more evidence to make those inferences. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Mom, there's a research paper for me to write. I want to write about Bertha Mextroth. I got something from Mary Kay Waldvogel, and I think it's the information that she was going to send me. So, when was the source you were reading written? So, Honeybee, this is a very good question. It was from the American Folk Art Museum website, and it didn't have a date on it, I don't think. Wait a minute, let me check. Nope, I got it. It was by Elizabeth V. Warren. Okay, so we know who wrote it. In Stacy C. Hollander, American Anthem, Masterworks from the American Folk Art Museum. 2001. So, you know, Elizabeth V. Warren, if you're watching, I mean, you could make a YouTube video, because there's a lot of people who just love to like totally roast me, you know, about my opinions. So, I mean, join in. No, I mean, I'm not throwing shade. I just, you know, we're quilt nerds, you know, so we just like look at stuff and we just don't like things. Sometimes we don't like things. But it doesn't mean we don't like you. Okay. Lots of hand holding. It makes me think of Neil Diamond and Sweet Caroline. Lots of hand holding. Oh, that's so true. I like that. Okay, so let's see. Oh, here we go. Are you ready for this? This is great. This was almost the intro quilt. I had a lot of fun with the intro quilt tonight. Okay, so this is really something. I think that I found this because I was looking for something else, you know. I wasn't looking for this. But I found this, and it's been hanging around. Yeah, it's a balloon. I mean, it's a balloon, kind of. I mean, yes, it's a balloon. So, and it's been hanging around my folders for a while. And it is this. I'm going to read to you from... Hang on, I'm going to read to you from something. Hang on. Ugh. I'm still here. I'm here. Okay. This is called the Aeroscene Inflatable. Exactly. Hey, Natalie. The Aeroscene Inflatable Museo Aero Solar. It is something that's been conceived by Tomás Saraceno. And I have a lot of images of this project. Hey, Dee Marie. I didn't yet, and I'm congested. I made a doctor's appointment because my ear is still weird, but thank you for checking on me. Yeah, you know what, Ivana, you're right. And I think you've told me that before. Like, really, I think I remember you or somebody saying, like, it's good to say what you don't like. Like, it's good to say, or you know, to challenge something, because that's how we learn. Didn't you say that to me? I remember that. I remember that from this show. Somebody was like, you have to, like, make your choices because it's how you learn, you know, and challenge things, right? I think you said that. So this is... an article from Design Boom, an online magazine. This was written in 2021. There's no byline, but it was from Design Boom. I knew it, Ivana. See, I knew. So I'm going to read this to you and then show you some more, or then also talk about this project using some of the information from the website for this project, okay? So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can kind of see. There's a very quilty moment here, a very patchwork moment. Do you see that? So obviously this is not a quilt, but it is a, I mean, you know, it's clearly patchwork, right? It's patchwork. So this is from Design Boom. The 2021 Venice Biennale celebrates inflatable architecture and material reuse with the exhibition of the Museo Aero Solar. Look at this. Look at this. This is inside of it, you guys. This is inside of it. Hey, Liz. Ivana, thank you. Stop apologizing for it. Oh my God. I really need to stop apologizing for it. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. You're right. Since 2007, a collection of community-built, inflatable Museo Aero Solar structures have grown across the world. The initiative has seen hundreds of thousands of plastic bags. Hey, Penny. I know, I love it, Dee Dee. Plastic bags reused, cut, pasted, and joined to create canvases for drawing and writing personal stories, encouraging visitors and creators to reuse and recycle the notoriously harmful materials of the Anthropocene, thus transformed into a mind-expanding material for the newly envisioned Aeroscene era. Say, small town. I know, like the parachutes in gym class. Oh, yes. 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 The popcorn things. Yes. God bless you. Okay. Look at this. Aeroscene flies without fossil fuels, batteries, lithium, solar panels, helium, hydrogen, without any of that. Currently on view at the 2021 Venice Biennale, this Museo Aero Solar was realized in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and traveled to Italy by sailboat. The installation was collectively created. There's a face on the side? There's a face. Okay, I don't see it, but maybe I'm not looking right. Collectively created. Okay, this is important. The installation was collectively created by nearly 200 Aeroscene community members and is made up of a collection of messages written by the Bella Flor Recycling Service, as well as the incarcerated students of the educational space within the Buenos Aires Penitentiary Service. To build a Museo Aero Solar, creators can use the instructions available on the project's website and the do-it-together ethos fostered by the Aeroscene community. Hey, M. Sujan, I know. So you can, like, do this, and I've got the PDF for you. To date, Museo Aero Solar has repurposed hundreds of thousands of plastic bags that would have otherwise filled landfills or the ocean. The worldwide community, this is inside again, the worldwide community has salvaged and reused plastic waste from over 50 areas across more than 30 countries in an act that embodies an ethos of care and responsibility. The project continues to build a more inclusive, regenerative world that imagines a fossil fuel-free future. I know. Isn't it great? It's so great. Hey, so I'm positive. Women's Day. That's right. Happy Women's Day to all who identify. Absolutely true. I forgot to say that. I heard it on the radio as I mean, it was like, this show's like, I don't know. It's not all about women because we have many. You know what we talked about? Didn't we talk about like 2 guys last time? I think so. Anyway, we love our men. We love our men. But yeah, happy International Women's Day. It's awesome. So there's more about this. There's more. But wait, there's more. So these are some of the people who worked on the project. I believe this is from the website. So here is the manifesto from the website. Molly! Is Molly here? Molly, I almost went on at 5:00 p.m. I really did. I was really ready to go at 5 because I was still in UK time. Okay. Look, this is another one. Okay, so I don't know if you heard, Molly, we're talking about art, plastic art. It's patchwork. It's patchwork. They don't say it's a quilt, but it's clearly patchwork of plastic bags. So there's a bunch of these, you see. There's a bunch of them because, is that a tortilla chip? So on Positive Threads, how did you get a tortilla chip? We have tacos now. So there's a, there's a PDF, you know, where you can get instructions. I don't know if I put into the slideshow, did I? Oh no. The instructions, hang on. But I'm going to put the link to the, I didn't, put the link to the PDF that I'm reading from now into the chat, okay? Because you can do this in your community. Like, you can make one of these things. They have all the instructions for you to do this. I mean, I don't know. Why not? Do you know how many plastic bags I have? I mean, I use them to recycle, but that doesn't mean that they are recycled. Okay, the Aeroscene Manifesto. Aeronauts Unite. While fossil fuel enterprises to colonize other planets are put in place, this very same interface between us and the sun and the atmosphere, the air continues to be compromised. Carbon emissions fill the air. Invisible radio waves develop in a hegemonic algorithm of finance. Particulate matter floats inside our lungs. How would breathing feel in a post-fossil fuel economy? And what is our responsibility? How do we change geopolitical borders in an age of climate inequality? Aeroscene imagines space as commons. Oh, I haven't read this yet. It's so great. Remember, on this show, it's not a presentation. It's an exploration. Oh, that's kind of catchy. I never said it just like that before. Aeroscene imagines space as a commons, a physical and imaginative place to be subtracted from corporate control and government surveillance through desecuritized, free access to the interface between us and the rest of the cosmos. Wow. Namely, the atmosphere, the last earthly layer created as a result of the interplay of the sun. I didn't read ahead, word. Gravity and the earth mass. The launch pad becomes an aerosolar balloon, a do-it-together, DIT. Entrance, oh, I like that, do it together instead of do-it-yourself, DIY and DIT. It's cool. They capitalize that, you know, do it together, DIT. A do-it-together entrance into the aerial, whose engine is the life-giving star that the extraction of fossil fuels has turned into a threat at a planetary scale. Becoming buoyant and learning how to float over land and territories compel us to reconsider the ways in which borders are set up by humans. Wow, that's timely. The power of national institutions to decide who can transit, policies that dramatically affect vulnerable subjects, humans as well as other non-human animals. Aeroscene calls for an interspecies right to mobility, a new interplanetary ecology of practice, which could reconnect with elemental sources of energy and with the strata born from the sun and other planets, breaking the boundaries of the sublunary and expanding the critical zone of all life-dependent air. Sublunary. Gotta look it up. Hold on. Sublunary. Sublunary. Wow. I mean, that's like sub-moon. Sublunary. Lunary. Wow. Cool word. Okay. There's a little bit more here. We suggest a model. Look at this thing. What? We suggest a model for a landscape that balances our relationship with and harnesses the unlimited potential of the sun. This realization requires a thermodynamic leap of imagination, just like during an eclipse, when only in the absence of light we become aware of our scale in the shadow of the cosmos. In that moment of alignment between sun, moon, and earth, we understand that we rely on a reciprocal alliance between the elements and effects, the shifting winds, the exchange of heat and momentum, and the diffusing reflection of solar radiation towards the cosmic extent. I can't write like this. This is writing by an artist. It's great. Researchers in industrial and social ecology. Oh yeah, hell yeah, Natalie, I love that. Oh man. So how are they connecting the bags? Very good question, Mother Nature. We're going to check it out. Researchers in industrial and social ecology, hang on, refer to, hang on, okay, so I'm gonna skip that last paragraph. and get to your question. Mother Nature. Okay. Yeah, okay. So this is inside. I mean, I just love it. I don't think this was the same picture I showed, but hey, M. Hicks. Yeah, 7 p.m. Central on Tuesday nights. I know the schedule's changed a lot, but now it's going to be set. So in this, now I'm going to show you this. So this is the last picture I have of the different, the different ones. Yeah, I mean, maybe there's tape. I think, so, okay, so here's what we're going to do. I put the PDF into the show here, okay? So this thing is 53 pages long, and it's available online, as I mentioned. Hey, horrid little Spitfire. Girl, you're right on time. Actually, I don't know your gender, so I shouldn't say that, but I'm glad you're here. Okay. An artistic project. So I won't go through all of the pages, I guess, but this is a two pages at a time view of this. So it tells you all about the project. This is obviously free, this PDF. And I mean, it's how you do it. So this is what I just read from. I skipped that last paragraph, but this is what I was just reading you from there on the right. Talks all about, it's beautifully done. I'm sure they had like an awesome grant, to help them with this, because it's totally beautiful. Look at that. I mean, oh God, oh, Small Town Roots, reading quilt books for Audible. That's a fabulous idea. I'm writing it down. That would be Quilt Church. I'm really stuffed up. Audible. Exclamation point. So I would love to do that. If you know anybody, let me know. So yeah, okay, so here they are putting things together, Mother Nature. And I mean, I don't see a ton of supplies, but I mean, obviously they're attaching them somehow, and they're not like ironing, right? Because that would melt everything. So, I mean, glue, but we're going to find out. Look at this. It's so beautiful. The way it looks inside, Wow. So great. M. Hicks, Lord knows. Okay, look at that one. The Aeroscene Backpack is a portable flight starter kit enclosing an aerosolar sculpture that elevates itself free from fossil fuels. Wow. So, I mean, remember, there's no like hot air balloon fire. There's nothing. It's like completely natural. So anyway, I just had to show you this because obviously it's very quilty, and not all of them are quilty, as you can see, but yeah, cathedral-like, totally. Oh wow, there's an app. Wow, that's really cool. Whoa, what? Look at that one. I know we're getting far afield of the quilt stuff, but that's the point of the show. Quilts take us everywhere. Look at this. Look at this. We're in Italy, and we're looking at floating things, and it's so wonderful. So, when I say I like quilts, it's like I like quilts, but I like the world, I like art, and that's what we all like. We all like this stuff, and quilts take us there, so it's pretty great. Oh yeah, put the reminder on your phone for sure. Okay, so this is, oh, look, 8. We got it. Sewing machine. I knew it. They have to be sewing them together. I'm sure it's in the PDF, of course, because they give you all the instructions, but we have a sewing machine. I knew it. Look at that nice guy with his headband. Sewing plastic bags together. I love it. Okay, so that's the Museo Aerosolar, everybody. And it's just wonderful. It does look like the bean. Yep. I want to go inside there too. 1,000%. Yeah, I don't know. The whole notification thing, man. I follow a couple live streamers and I never get notifications when they go live, ever. I don't know why. don't know why. Okay. But the show is always so from now on. In fact, it's a good thing to mention the schedule because Tuesday night is now go on at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time, and then Thursday is the midday show, 11 a.m. Central Time. This Friday is a Quilter's Newsletter Friday, so we're going to read an issue of Quilter's Newsletter together, and it's a different format. I upload a issue of Quilter's Newsletter, a vintage issue, and we read it. And, you know, I was going to do an issue from 2010 last week. We had to bump it. We had to bump the show. I think that's what I'm going to do. But there's a chance it'll be a little bit older. Sometimes I do a poll. Oh, yeah, I've got the poll. Okay. Sometimes I do that, but I might not this week. I fixed the poll, I thought, for the other thing. But anyway. So this Friday night is Quilter's Newsletter Friday night, and it is at 7 p.m., I believe, Central. And then Saturday night we have a show every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Okay. So here we go. So let's see. Here is the next thing. I'm going to take a quick break because I need to blow my nose. So I'll be right back, and just hang out because this section of the show, this chapter, this entree is like super cool. Okay? All right. I'm having fun. Hey, quilting time. Okay. Ooh, quilting time says, here's what they say in the instructions. Quote, you can use different methods to connect two plastic bags to each other. One option is using a hot iron, along the seam of two overlapping plastic sheets. Remember to place tissue paper on top of the surface, pressing cloth, to avoid melting the plastic. Alternatively, you can place tape along the seam. Thank you for looking that up. That's awesome. Okay, so I will be right back, and don't go anywhere. And hey, wait a minute. Where's my BRB? Where's my BRB screen? That's not cool. Huh. Well, I can't BRB yet. We just have to hang out. Hang on. That's weird. Yeah, I'm real stuffed up. Okay, hang on. Just a second. I know what to do. So I did work on the poll about what lecture to pitch for QuiltCon 2023, and I have it, and it looks better than it did, but it still is I don't know, like one of the options is cut off from it. I know it's not fascinating to hear about, but I want to make it right. So the good news is that we still have time because I need to pitch my idea before March 15th. So on Tuesday show and on Friday show and on Saturday show, we'll still have time to do the poll because I want to get some some feedback, about what I should do. The ideas are a lecture about men in quilting. I could stay away from some controversy this coming year. That would be all right. And that could be controversial, although all I would do is, interview men in quilting to talk to them about things. But I don't know. But I'm totally open to do it. If that's the one that wins, I'll do it. Hey, about Kirsten. I'm so glad to see you. I'm glad you're here. And then there's the ethics of quilt making in the 21st century, which, would sort of be But you will now. I mean, you see me now. Okay, I'll be right back, you guys. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, there was no music on the Be Right Back screen because I had to do it kind of on the fly. I had to make the anyway. Yeah, but there was no music this time. But there will be next time. Okay, so let's see. Where am I at now? Okay. So tonight, so we're gonna talk about this, and then we're gonna watch a video. We could watch the video now, but now I've already put this up on the screen, so I'll go ahead and do this, okay? Because this is one of those weird moments, like one of the freaky things that happens every time we do this show. Every time I say it every time, but it's really odd. There are these coincidences like really strange ones. Like really strange ones. And tonight was no different. Today was no different. So I'm putting this together. And I forget, I really do. I was really trying to remember how I got here. But I found, did I find this quilt first? I must have. Yeah, I found this quilt first. And I've seen it before. Oh, it's at the Folk Art Museum. Okay, yeah, it's at the Folk Art Museum. So I was in the Folk Art Museum and I found that one quilt, the Bible quilt that we looked at. And I was looking at some of their stuff. And I know, how did I get here? Who really knows? And so I found this, and I mean, this is the only picture of this quilt that I've ever seen, and it's like it's like really blurry and weird. And you'd think that in the Folk Art Museum has amazing pictures, so it's weird that they have this one. But so I found this one, and I was like, oh, cool, quilts with words on them. And there's so many quilts with words on them, but there's some really like extra cool ones. There's a lot of extra cool quilts with words on them, but I thought I would pick out a few interesting ones tonight. And so I found this one, and I was like, I know I've seen this quilt before. Where have I seen this quilt before? And I was looking around for a better picture of it, and I remembered that it was on the cover of that magazine, which we have looked at. At least we looked at the cover. Oh, sorry, I gotta get small. I gotta get small. I'm small. And let me show. I mean, I did know that I was big before, and I was in front of that quilt. But let me get small and let's read it. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside. Here's my audible work. Yeah, I'm connected to my destiny. I love it. Oh, this is really good for this quilt. By the way, the church thing, this show was called Quilt Church for a while, and it is Quilt Church. So we play that organ music. Okay. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Wow, look how evil is spelled. You see that? Eavel. Interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Okay, where am I on this? I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou, some of you may be reciting this along with me, I don't know. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Read ahead. Yeah, I mean, so it's pretty wonderful. So we know who made this. It was made by Lena Moore in 1930. And Lena Moore was from Canton, Mississippi. And it's 65 by 78 inches. And it's called the Psalm 23 quilt. And so this quilt was in an exhibit called Talking Quilts, which was at the Folk Art Museum. And there's some pretty great quilts in here. So I'm going to read to you from that. But here's the thing that was so weird, okay? Here was the freaky part. Is that I went to find this folk art magazine, because I have it. It's over there in this horrifying stack of magazines that's just, books and magazines. It's literally, I should take a picture of it and put it on my Instagram. I mean, we don't have enough bookshelves in this house, so it's just like it's a disaster. Oh, Bonnie says they recite this at funerals. Interesting. Yeah. As I walk through the Valley of the Shadow of Death, right? Yeah. So I go over there, and I'm thinking about words on quilts. I can't find this this issue of Folk Art magazine, but I find this right on top of the stack, and let me tell you, that stack is like scary. So I found this right away, and so there's words on quilts, right, in this issue of Uncoverings, and Uncoverings is the yearly journal of the American Quilt Study Group, which has been going on since 1979, right? This is from 1980. 1980. Look at that. Oh, and guess what? Guess what I did? Here's what I did. I did this. I'm very excited. I have not done all of the books. So I talk about a lot of books on this show, and they're all out of print. And so I have to go back, and I haven't contacted Raffle Waffle yet. I don't know. I went to the Discord, and I thought maybe she had posted a book list in a DM to me, but she hadn't, because I didn't ask her to do that. So I think Raffle Waffle has a long list of the books that I've talked about on this show, because I have an Abe Books affiliate link. And I think, so if you buy a book that I talk about on the show through the affiliate link, I probably get like 5 or 10 cents, which is not, I mean, I would love that. I would love 5 or 10 cents. So I went and made links for the books that I'm going to talk about in this section of the show. And one of them is Uncoverings, 1980. So if you want it, you can go to that link and buy the old out of print book through Abe Books. And that would be great through that link. Okay. So I went in there to the book pile, and I didn't find what I wanted, but I found this. And in this issue of Uncoverings, pieced lettering on 7 quilts dating from 1833 to 1891. I mean, I wanted to do words on quilts, and I went, and this is the first thing that I found, and it's on pieced lettering. It's very strange. It's very strange. It's very strange. It's very strange. Oh, Dee Dee, that's good. I can't forget to check that. I gotta check that like every day. Or at least, okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I gotta write that down. There's a Quilt Nerd Instagram. I'm the worst. It's Yo Quilt Nerds, and it's on Instagram, and you should follow it, and there are books listed there. So sorry. Okay. No. Not sorry. Okay. I am sorry. So I'm going to read a little bit from this and show you some quilts that are included in this book, in this issue. And yeah, exactly. Yo Mary Fons Book Club. I like that. So this is the back of, I wanted to show you the back of the book or the back of the journal, because the quilt, sort of wraps around, right? So the quilt says, by the way, actually I have the scan of the actual quilt, the Vosburg quilt. And I left my tab on there because, you guys know, I love a tab. My mom says, I don't know if my mom is still here, but my mom says if you like office supplies, you'll love making quilts. I say that a lot because it's really true. So this is a piece, it's very short, by Winifred Redall. So she wrote this in 1980, or it's in the 1980 issue of Uncoverings. So let's see if we can, Oh yeah, so she's got it here. The central message reads, "And from every quarter flowing joyful crowds assemble round and spake with exalted zeal. And the border contains a benediction. May the blessing of God await thee. Cornelia Catherine Vosburg, Red Hook, December 25th, 1874. I don't know if anybody's in New York, but I mean, Red Hook. I know Red Hook, you know. I'll read it again. And from every quarter flowing joyful crowds assemble round and spake with exalted zeal. May the blessing of God await thee. Cornelia Catherine Vosberg. Red Hook, December 25th. Christmas! Christmas, 1874. December 25th. Wow. Wow. Okay. So here's what Winifred says. Very few quilts with pieced lettering have come to light up to the present time. A prodigious example was discovered in 1979, the year of my birth, and exhibited at a Patch in Time number 4 in San Francisco. It was number 38 in the catalog of that show under the title Quotation Quilt. Its design is entirely a lettered message pieced of red calico and natural muslin rectangles. This quilt is now the cherished possession of a great-grandson of the maker living in Northern California. So this is also in the article, Pieced Letter Variations. I mean, this is really cool, you know? Like, these, I mean, it's crazy. Like, the person who made this, Catherine, right? Cornelia Catherine. I mean, can't you just imagine her sketching this out? You know? Hashtag office supplies. Yeah, I mean, I imagine her with a piece of paper, you know, figuring out how to do an A. So okay, so here we have two different, okay, I see what's going on. So there's two different A's, two styles of A's. Wow, when you get really close, it's hard to tell what you're looking at a little bit, right? They look like cross stitch. Totally. Okay, let me keep reading. Yeah, when you zoom in really, really closely, it's kind of like when you say a word like over and over and over. Oh, all right. I had a chip on me like this. Maybe I should just leave. I'll just leave that there until it falls off. Okay. The Vosberg quilt is a masterpiece of its kind. It warrants a study of its lettering style and an effort to trace the source of its message. It provokes a number of questions. What prompted Cornelia to make a lettered quilt? Was she inspired by other lettered quilts? Did she use a pattern for the letters or design them herself? A search of the literature turned up 6 other 19th century quilts whose monogram totally looks like 8-bit Robin's Nest, 1000%. A search of literature turned up 6 other 19th century quilts whose monograms or messages display the same general style of lettering. Simply listing the origins of these quilts revealed a regional identity for the group. The rest of the alphabet is right here. See, there's that backwards S. What's up with that? If my friend from Cazenovia is here, like, or anybody else, any other quilt historian person, so many backwards S's. What is up with that? We see them all the time, you guys. In fact, weren't there backwards S's in here? Well, there's backwards N's all over the place. All over the place. Look. You see names? I mean, if I had a nickel, if I had a backward N nickel for every time I saw a backwards N, it's just, I mean, they happen all the time. And I mean, it's a mystery. It's really a mystery. Maybe it's quite simple, you know, the reason for that. And some people might say, oh, you know, it's because the whole God is not perfect thing. You know, people wanted to make a mistake intentionally. But the way I've, you know, heard it is that that's not true. Some people say it is true. But that you don't need to try to make a mistake in a quilt. You're going to make them anyway. Quilting Time says, reversed S is very often used in languages using the Latin alphabet as a substitute for S to simulate a young child's handwriting. Threadist was an early English S. Wasn't an early English S to look like... wait, hold on. Wasn't early English S... Didn't early English as I'm sorry, I'm the autocorrect may have screwed this up. Looked like an F, and maybe the backwards version alludes to that. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I can see to make sure. Right, because it went below the line, right below the handwriting line. I think I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, it was in the Texas quilt. Oh, so on Positive Threads. You're so right. You're so right. Hey, Jan. Jan, listen, when I tried to draft a letter N for a paper piecing N, could not do it. Kept having it. It was backwards. It kept happening, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Raffle Waffle, I'm so glad you're here. This is great. The kids are in bed. Girl, you jumped in just at the right time. We're talking about mysteries. Mysteries. Wait a minute. Let's see. Is the N backwards? Okay, well. So, documentation indicates 4 of the 7 quilts that she found, that Winifred Redall found, were made in upstate New York. The Vosburgh quilt from Red Hook, the one that we saw here. This is the Vosburgh quilt. Okay. And it was red and white. You can imagine that. And then these different things. She talks about a few more. And then 5. Okay. Hold on. Okay, 5 of the quilts predate the Vosburgh quilt, so a possibility exists that Cornelia had viewed one or more of these lettered quilts, perhaps at a county fair or agricultural show. These occasions afforded exhibitions of women's handiwork. Although the meager newspaper reports do not make it clear whether quilts were part of the show. It is logical to assume 100 years ago more lettered quilts existed than now survive, which increases the possibility that Cornelia could have seen an example, not necessarily one of those now under consideration, perhaps one pieced by a relative or friend. So, okay, so she's examining different quilts. And the reason that I have this one is because what she does, so in her references, she has references at the end of her article, and I was like, oh, I have a bunch of the books that she used for her different references. The references that she makes, a couple are from Patsy and Myron Orlowski's Quilts in America book, a classic. Should be on everyone's shelf. Yes, I have an affiliate link, and I have the book right here. Hang on. And she has a quilt from, let's see, New Discoveries in American Quilts by Robert Bishop. I also have it over there. And so I grabbed the things that she was mentioning. Okay. I grabbed some of the things that she mentioned. This one is by Eulalie. Is that right? Yeah. No. Hang on. There's so many. So I told you I had a lot of content tonight. This is called the Pieties quilt by Maria Cadman Hubbard. Probably from New York, 1848. It's 88 by 81. And this one's owned by the American Folk Art Museum. And it says, little acts of kindness, little words of love, make our earthly Eden like our heaven above. Is our home a heaven? Heaven is our home. Peace be still. So these are these little messages. Peace be still. Oh, that's beautiful, isn't that? Isn't that wonderful? It is amazing, isn't it? Robin's Nest. Kind words never die. Forgive as you hope to be forgiven. Earth has no sorrow. Heaven cannot heal. Oh, earth has no sorrow, heaven cannot heal. Wow. Be still and know that I am God. There is magic in kindness that springs from above. Oh my God. Oh my God. Our sacred patience with my soul abide. Okay. These are like the best These are the best. I mean, sometimes, it's funny, I didn't pull this one wedding quilt I know about that's like, fire and brimstone messages on the quilt. I should find it. But this is wonderful. Thy will be done. Maria Cadman Hubbard, age 79. God, what a badass. Oh, she's so great. She's like, I'm doing letters on my quilt, and that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. God. Okay, hang on. So while we're looking at this, hang on, there's a few more. Love one another. Oh my God. What? Wait, this was what? This was made in what? 1848. They're wonderful. They're sweet and hopeful. Raffle, 1000%. If you cannot be, if you cannot be a golden pip, what does that say? If you cannot be, what does it say? Golden pippin. If you cannot be a golden pippin, don't turn crabapple. We should remake this quilt. What's a golden pippin? Is that an apple? It's an apple. Cool. That's amazing. If you cannot be a golden pippin, that'd be a good word for a little dog. Pippin. Nose to quilts. Hi. A sweet apple. Yeah, it's probably a nice old-fashioned apple. This is great. She's funny. That's the thing too. Love one another. She's funny. 1848. Can we just give her some props, by the way? Maria Cadman Hubbard. Age 79 in 1848. God, what an awesome woman, right? It's so great. Look, I mean, can you imagine? God, look at the piecing on this. This is wild. It's wild. I mean, these letters that our author is talking about. Look at the M. What? Sorry. Oh, come on. Look at that M. I mean, the tiny piecing there. It's just cray. It's cray. All right. Okay, so we gotta do this. We gotta do this. Okay. So this one, so here, so in is it Winifred? Yeah, Winifred's article or paper, she mentions this book. She mentions a quilt from Quilts in America by Patsy and Myron Orlowski. And this, in Quilts in America, let me give you the affiliate link. Yes, in case you would like to get the book used on Abe Books. That's right. Yeah, Kenny, you must not complain. Yeah, this is like this is classic. It's a classic. One of the, I think, well, it was an early quilt history book, and they go through, they start with the Ivory King statue in Egypt, which is one of the first, it's like some evidence of quilts, one of the earliest pieces of evidence of quilts. We're going to do that. Actually, the video we're going to watch tonight, I got to get rolling here. The video we're going to watch tonight, I think, talks about that. It's just a 20-minute video, so it's not going to be too late. But anyway, so this book is from this, and I learned it because, I figured it out because I looked at her references. Okay. So isn't this lovely? It's so lovely. Botanical Spread, Connecticut, 1868. Appliqued cotton, 94 by 96. It's at the Shelburne Museum in Vermont. The colors of the calicos were specifically chosen to match the living counterparts of the flowers, fruits, and berries represented. Roses, dahlias, tulips, pinks, wild cherries, and pears. There are also leaves, birds, and butterflies. Isn't that great? So words on quilts, this counts. Oh, I got some wine while I took a break. Is this one? Okay. So while we look at this one, I've got two detail shots. It is delicate. Kirsten. I did 2 detail shots of this because it's just so lovely. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, yeah. Okay. The butterfly is really great, but actually, look at the strawberries. So pretty. So Stacy C. Hollander wrote this. This is a just the introduction to the Talking Quilts exhibit that the American Folk Art Museum did in 2004. Just interesting little introduction. Talking Quilts, on view at the American Folk Art Museum through August 1st, 2004. Explores the visual texture of language. Oh, wait, hang on. We're going to wait for that one. Explores the visual texture of language as expressed in quilts from the 19th century to the present as an early form of what might be termed female graffiti. What? Female graffiti? No, that's terrible. Female graffiti. Oh my God. Okay, that's fabulous. I mean, really? Hey, Quilt Room. Hey, everybody put a welcome basket in the chat because Quilt Room is here for the first time. That's so great. Estelle. Susan, what's going on? Maybe people don't like female graffiti. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of badass. Wait, is Tiki here? Wait a minute. Tiki, did you come in and I missed you? Or is it Quilt Room? Quilt Room, is it Tiki? That's so cool. Well, that's sad. Graffiti can be very badass, I think. Okay, Tiki, hello. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. This is great. Tiki's our friend from South Africa. I am thrilled that you're in the chat. This is so cool. Well, you came in at a good night. Because I don't know. I really like quilt graffiti. Hey, Christine. Thanks for doing the thimble thing. God. Well, good morning. Okay, good. Sorry. Female graffiti indeed. Quilts have historically provided a forum for women to voice opinions and exercise power. Okay. We're getting to this one. In each of the textiles, words play multiple roles and introduce concepts that elicit varying varying levels of response from the viewer. The words as visual signifiers provoke intuitive reactions. So this quilt, this one is crazy. So listen to this. Powerful protection is encoded into Angels Guard My Head. This is the quilt that's called Angels Guard My Head. The quilt police, indeed. The words at the top of this quilt draw upon a rich literary tradition from 17th century writer Thomas Addy. Quote, this is a Thomas Addy quote, 4 angels to my bed, 4 angels round my head, 1 to watch and 1 to pray, and 2 to bear my soul away. I remembered it there at the end. And to Isaac Watts's A Cradle Hymn, quote, hush, my dear, lie still and slumber, holy angels guard thy bed, heavenly blessings without number, gently falling on my head. The perimeter of the quilt is further guarded by the words of the children's bedtime prayer, now I lay me down to sleep, as well as additional religious sentiments in a variety of typographical styles. The glory train is stationed in the center, a potent metaphor derived from a translation of Ephesians 4. Therefore it is said, when he ascended on high, he led a train of vanquished foes. The instruction to gather up the fragments, let nothing be lost, from John 6:12, appears in several quilts with letters comprised of small fabric scraps. The verse seems to have been particularly popular for this purpose, probably because the quilt maker herself is enacting the directive by gathering up fragments of fabric and creating something new and worthwhile from the pieces. Okay, Look at this quilt. Are you kidding me? I mean, or a little Spitfire. You guys are amazing. I love you so much. Oh, it's good. It's so good. I do love you guys. So look, I mean, this is really something. Angels guard my head. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't tell you when this was made. So 1894. 1894. Honestly, when I look at this quilt, I mean, I tend to think like 1930 or something. It's made, by the way, of wool tailor cloth, you know? It's like suiting. 1894. 1894. God is good. I mean, some of these, you know, biblical sayings and, you know, church sayings. I mean, sometimes people attribute things to the Bible that aren't actually in the Bible, but you know, obviously these are, you know, well, yeah, it's poetry. The text said, you know, some of it's from poetry. But I mean, I'm really digging the messages. Digging the messages here. The lettering is great. And you know, it's just like the Sunday social this Sunday. I'm making that quilt with letters on it. These letters, you don't have to print off templates from the internet. You don't have to get a book. I want you to buy books, all the books, but you don't have to make it perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You could freehand cut this stuff, you know? Quilts, at least for a long time, got so perfect, you know, because, and I've said it before, it's kind of a soapbox I get on, but you know, the commercialization of the quilt industry, you know, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the magazines and the TV shows, you know, these media, they had to produce perfect quilts from which to teach, you know, and print in a magazine. You couldn't have like a funky quilt, right? Because you had to write a pattern for it, and you had to teach it on television, and you had to do all this stuff, you know. And so quilts got really perfect, and in a lot of ways I think they got really plastic. And so before all that happened, you had this wonderful, just the hand of the quilts was so great. And there's a backwards N again. Yeah, plastic, exactly. And so, you know, if you're making a quilt, like winging it is totally okay. And if somebody doesn't like it, you can tell them, like, you know, look at some old quilts, right? And the old quilts, not always, but the old quilts are quilts that people really love. They really love. And why do they love them? Because they have soul. And the soul comes from the hand of the person who made it. This is what I think. Okay, so this one is, I know the picture is not great, but it comes from this this book. I had to scan it. I think I actually pulled this. This book, by the way, is on archive.org, so you can find it. So all I have about this is the Wild Man Quilt. It says Joseph and Deborah Wildman, Castile, 1833, New York. A lot of these are from New York. 80 by 72. A variety of blue and white roller printed calicos have been used to create this unusual quilt. It was made for the marriage of Joseph and Deborah Wildman. That is what we have about it. But this was another quilt that was referenced in, referenced in Winifred's piece. Hey, Miss Eleni just bought the book, this one, the Orlowski book, for $5 on Abe Books. Thank you, Miss Eleni. Appreciate that. I do. It's great. It's great. It's a classic. You should have it on your shelf. Here are these letters again. Here are these letters. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then this is a really famous quilt. This is a little bit different. Susan with the tacos. This is a classic. It's one of those quilts that if you're a quilt nerd, you know, you should know it. You know, it's kind of famous. It gets around a lot. The Freedom Quilt. And it was made by Jessie B. Telfair in 1983, 74 by 68 inches. And this is another quilt that, you know, I don't know. I thought it was older than it is. And yeah, I mean, 1983, you know. It looks like maybe it could have been made, you know, in the 60s, right? Civil rights movement. but it's older. And here's a picture of it hung. It's wonderful, isn't it? So that those are some letters, and you can see the letters are very different from. I mean, just compare them to these. You know, very different style. Oh, small town roots. Can you imagine quilt-based graffiti on train cars passing through the Midwest? I love it. You know, like barn blocks. You could do barn blocks on train cars. That would be cool. You know, I thought about a community, like a community project, like working with the kids, and like do graffiti. Graffiti could be part of it. It could be really cool. Blocks for the block. You know, blocks for the block. You know what I'm saying? Could be really good. Now that I'm in Chicago and sticking around, Eric and I have been talking a lot about, like, how do we get involved in the community? Like, how do we invest in the community? I have a dream of starting a bakery. Really. Yeah. Oh, okay. So here, by the way, this is a Denise Schmidt quilt. I can't believe I didn't have a better picture of this, but Denise Schmidt made this quilt, you know, a reference. Pretty sure it was referencing this quilt. I mean, I'm pretty sure. But even if it's not, it's a great quilt. Made in 2018. Barn quilt train cars. I'm telling you. Ooh, Sakwa has had a street art challenge. That's so great. I didn't know that. Dazed Hoss, are you gonna go do some graffiti? Will you please do that? Kenny, it does make me wonder how pursuit of perfection in quilting will be viewed a century from now. You know, it's interesting. At QuiltCon, I did see a few quilts really experimenting and doing some different things. But yeah, I mean, I think even now, right, we're looking back. Well, we are, because we have such insight. But I think we're looking back and seeing, like, like all the, I don't know, the quilts. I don't want to say that they weren't amazing. I mean, they are. People learned how to quilt in the 90s and the 2000s and everything, and it was great. But I don't know. There was a lot of celebrities, and a lot of, like, people that people followed and stuff, and it kind of got homogenous in some ways because you found your people, your Fons and Porter perhaps, and I don't know. I just like weird quilts. That's one of the sayings that we have at Quilt Nerd. Keep quilts weird. And that's great. There's variations. Someone said there's variations Bonnie said, in the freedom words. Yeah, there are. Yeah, there's a lot of variation in them, actually. Oh, it's so good. Isn't it good? It's so good. Okay, just a couple more. I think this one, just two more. This one is at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. Was this one in... I think this is just one that she referenced. Yeah. Yeah. Do I have anything else about this? I don't think I do. Yeah, exactly. Kenny, you're not square. Something tells me that I knew that already. I don't know, I'm kind of having like congestion. Anyway, oh, look how faded this is. I didn't even notice this. Look at those star blocks. Did you see them? I didn't see them. Interesting. See, look at that frame. Totally imperfect, right? Oh, and look, it's so stained. They should probably cut it up and make it into a jacket. I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not getting on that topic, don't worry. But yeah, it's pretty beat up, but it's super cool. I'm glad it still is alive. Interesting. Don't you love that blue fabric? Isn't that great? Look at this, the feathers here. It's just wonderful. Oh, help, I'm small, I'm in a box. Ding, ding. Ding, ding, ding. Help. Sorry. All right. Okay, we gotta watch this video. We're gonna watch a 20-minute video. Okay. This is the last one. This quilt actually inspired me to make a Bourgogne Surrounded. This is the block here is called Bourgogne Surrounded, which is a war reference. I didn't realize I was going to be talking about Bourgogne Surrounded, so I didn't look it up. But wait a minute. Can you see? Hang on. The block is this, and then they've got sashing. The quilt maker has sashing in between the blocks. So, sorry. So this is your block. I'm going to draw the thing again. I know the line isn't like super great. It's probably kind of bad. The block begins and ends with these red corner pieces at the outer edge. See you, Myra. See you, my dear. Quilt Room, I'm so glad you're here. This is awesome. Good night, Myra. So, Susan, I'm glad you're cheered up. So, yeah, so that's the block. So that's the block. And then there's these sashing pieces in between, right? These white sashing pieces. And then, but then there's a 9 patch here. You see, that's a 9 patch. So let me zoom out again, but you can see the Bourgogne Surrounded. Do you see that? Am I going like, are you getting it? The block, in each corner there's a red square, and then in between the blocks and the horizontal there's white sashing, like a rectangle of sashing. I could use my Jamboard on this. Right in here, you know what I'm saying? And then on the horizontal, in the next row, I remember making this. I gotta find the quilt that I made. Ooh, do I have pictures of it? I don't know. And then here is the sashing is here as well. So all of the blocks are floating, basically, you know? Quilt Room, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta make breakfast. What time is it in South Africa? I really want to go to Cape Town. I've been hearing about it. Marsha McDonald. Sorry, I just called her Marsha McDonald. Marsha McDowell, the great Marsha McDowell, at the Quilt Index. She says that Cape Town, she almost moved to Cape Town. Or she and her husband considered it because it's such an amazing place. So it's on my list. We're going to talk about the Quilt Index on Thursday again, by the way. So anyway, so this is floating. And yeah, the Bourgogne Surrounded. And it says 1891 to 1928. Woodhouse, Eulalie Woodhouse, Newark. Yeah, so some quilts with words and some religious overtones. Clearly, a homemade pizza. Robin, don't talk to me about that. Don't say that. Homemade pizza. I'm eating potato chips, and you know what? This is dinner. Okay, so, and I love it for dinner. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to watch a video. Because this book inspired me. I remembered a video that I have seen before. Now, one thing I want to mention, just because it's been on my mind, some of the content that I watch on YouTube sometimes, not all of it, but some of it, I watch some reaction channels, and it's crazy. But these reaction channels will watch a video and, react to it in real time. They're live, and they watch a video and they react to it. And so, when I first saw these things, I was like, hey, Eat Your Coat, I'm so glad you're here. This is great. We had some really good friends. And Casanova, hello. Bourgogne, okay, good. So Casanova has some information about Bourgogne Surrounded. Revolutionary War reference. English General Bourgogne surrounded by American militia, and he surrendered. Thank you. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Thank you. So we're gonna, I watch some reaction channels. So I'm glad that you're with me on that. So they watch videos or music videos or something, and they sort of analyze them on a live stream. So that's what we're gonna do. And the reason that they can do that, I was sort of amazed that it was allowed, but fair use is a thing, and it allows a person to do that. It's considered cultural commentary or analysis or cultural criticism or commentary, whatever. As long as the content that you watch or present is transformative, that's the word, transformative, then you are allowed to do it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to watch this video and comment on it, and because we want to make sure it's transformative, and of course the chat's on the screen, the Quilt Nerd ad is on the screen, and I'm going to stay on the screen with my little head, down in the bottom of the screen, then that's fine. So it's all good, because I made my quilt clothes video and used pictures of different things, and collage and whatnot. People were upset that was not allowed and whatever, and I got a copyright strike, which was dismissed. But just so you know, and if you don't do this kind of content or you don't watch reaction channels or whatever, you might not know that. But it's okay if somebody wanted to play the entirety of a Quilt Nerd show on their YouTube channel and critique it and comment on it and like be snarky, they could do it. And that's the way it is. And it's good because then this is the free-flowing sharing of ideas and snark. We're not going to be snarky in this video. But so here's the thing. So I'm going to pull this thing up. And I don't know. I watched a little bit of it once. So it's 21 minutes. And it was uploaded, 51,000 views. So it was uploaded by someone named John Locke. Something tells me his name isn't really John Locke. But it's called The History of Quilting. And it was uploaded in 2019. When I first saw some of this, I was like, what do I think about this? And I stopped watching it because I wanted to watch it with you. So let's watch it together. And I'm going to stay right here because we're transforming content, okay? All right, let's see. I need a robot companion? Well, yeah, I definitely. And a monkey butler. Okay, let's do this. Oh boy.
Quilting, like all of the crafts we enjoy today as hobbies, had its beginnings as a necessity to provide comfort and make everyday life a little easier. The process of quilting, in the most general sense, is the joining together of two pieces of material and a central filling by stitching the three layers together. Although the stitching originated for the...
Hold on.
Is the joining together of two pieces of material and a central filling by stitching the three layers.
She said 2 and then 3, right? The other Mary Kate. I'm so glad that you're here. Yeah, I think we might have problems with this video. But like Ivana says, that's okay.
All right. Together. Although the stitching originated for the practical purpose of holding the filling in place, the intricacy and minuteness of this stitching soon became as much aesthetic as utilitarian.
Okay, yeah.
Let's look at the history of quilting
Word.
to get a better idea of how this craft has made a very significant contribution to the well-being of mankind. Contrary to what you may think, quilting did not start with our grandmothers.
Ooh, I know my friend in Casanova has some information about this, has some theories about where the quilt actually originated, and I'm very interested to hear what he has to say about that later this year.
Even our great-grandmothers. In fact, archaeologists have found examples of quilting done as long ago as 5000 BC, and it's possible that people were quilting
a little Greek key border over here
before then.
Oh, sorry.
The art of quilting was practiced by the ancient Chinese, Egyptians, Greeks, and by virtually all civilizations as cloth was developed. The British Museum has a statue of Means, the Egyptian king who lived about 3,400 BC.
The Ivory King, right? I just mentioned it. And, sorry, this is how we transform the content. I learned about the Ivory King in this book. Ooh, look at this. The Tristan quilt. You guys remember that, right? The Tristan quilt. We talked about it recently. Oh, this book is very musty. Musty smelling. Anyway, okay, sorry.
Which shows him wearing a quilted robe. Much of the quilting in Egypt at that time was done by men. When a tomb was unearthed in China in the 1900s, scientists found it belonged to a Mongolian warlord who lived in the year 1 BC. Among its treasures was a rug, quilted in a scroll.
Whoa, the other Mary Kate says, we are drinking wine. We are drinking wine. Mary Kate says this commentary is taken straight off Wikipedia. Are they literally reading it from Wikipedia? Really? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Design that is still in use today. Ancient quilted fabric was often plain, so that any design was formed by the quilting stitches. However, applique and piecework also have a long history, dating to before the time of Christ. For example, the heads of Egyptian mummies were wrapped in fabric, arranged to form a design we know today as log cabin.
Okay. Hang on. Sorry. I know what she's talking about. She's talking about what's at the British Museum, which we need to look at it. She's talking about the cat mummies, which, I should do an episode about this. I mean, they're pretty amazing. I mean, I don't know. I'd be interested what my friend in Casanova has to say about it. I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? This isn't even better. I saw these when we were in London. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? It's really amazing. So this is what they're talking about, but I don't know. It's an interesting is that true? Bye Quilt Room. It's great to see you. Go make breakfast. I mean, it's pretty incredible. That is for sure a log cabin. For sure. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, it is. Have you seen this, Molly? Isn't this amazing? I know, they're so cool. And that's what I mean by the story of quilts is, it's just one story, and everywhere in the world they're making these motifs. I mean, we've seen hexagons, in Chinese baby clothes, and obviously these are they're mummified cats, and they're in log cabin. I mean, things. Just amazing. Who wrote on them? Yeah, I don't know. Who discovered Tutankhamun? That one guy? I don't know. All right, sorry. Let's go back to the thing. But I wanted to show you what she was talking about, what they were talking about. All right. Oh yeah. Okay, here we go.
When European soldiers traveled to the Holy Land during the Crusades, which went on from about 1000 to 1300 AD, they found that the Arabs wore quilted clothing.
Sorry, the chat isn't on. The chat's not on. Do you guys want the chat up? I mean, I'd like it to be, but it will cover some of the video. Good night, Susan.
Beneath their armor. The quilted shirts gave the Arabs added protection and comfort in battle. The craft of quilting was just one of the many new things the Crusaders brought back with them when they returned to their homes in Europe. Often these Arabic designs were mosaics and probably were the inspiration for the pattern we know today as grandmother's flower garden. Marco Polo probably introduced quilts to Europe in about 1200. He found...
Can someone confirm this? Marco Polo. Quilt coats. Yeah, totally. Totally.
On his famous trip to the Orient and returned home with prized examples. By 1400,
Polo
quilting was widely practiced throughout Europe, and it was as popular in castles as in cottages. Some famous royal quilters included Catherine of Aragon, who invented black embroidery, Catherine de' Medici, and Marie Theresa of Austria, Marie Antoinette's mother. There can be seen at Hardwicke Hall in England the quilts wrought by the skillful fingers of Mary Stuart, Queen of Scots, when she was imprisoned there for so long. In his will, William Shakespeare bequeathed all the quilts and bedclothing of the second-best bedroom in his home to his wife, Anne Hathaway. Many historians believe his wife was an accomplished quilter.
Okay, I just need to say, and I'm not throwing hate. I have never heard any of this. I've never heard any of this. Like, I've never read anything about Shakespeare's wife. Not saying that, like, it's not true, but I mean, Shakespeare's wife, an accomplished quilt maker? I've never heard any of it.
And probably made the quilts herself.
Molly.
Great catastrophes sometimes have beneficial byproducts, and the popularization of the quilt is said to have been largely brought about by such a calamity. In Europe in the 14th century, severely cold weather, which came to be known as the Great Freeze, lasted a number of winters and caused the major rivers such as the Thames, the Rhine, and the Rhone to freeze solidly. Partly out of necessity and partly to relieve themselves from the boredom resulting from prolonged confinement, women busied themselves making quilted material for garments and bed coverings.
Or maybe because they were
By the
freezing.
1500s, quilted clothing had become fashionable in Europe. Men wore quilted vests and jackets. Women wore fancy quilted petticoats. Long bell skirts shaped by bulky petticoats became popular. This skirt split from waist to hem, displaying the lavishly quilted, colorful petticoats. This Renaissance split skirt fashion persisted until about 1630, when women were still exhibiting their magnificent undergowns by holding up their long skirts when walking. After 1670...
Is anybody yeah, I don't know. A lot of this is like really new information, and it seems kind of like it's kind of a gloss. But I mean, look, I'm like making inferences all over the place tonight, so okay. All right.
Skirts became fuller and reached to the ground once more, generally splitting at the front again to reveal a richly worked petticoat, which according to Samuel Pepys was often the most ornate and expensive items of dress.
I love Samuel Pepys. He was the first diarist. He's credited with writing the first, or not the first diarist, but he wrote essays.
Methods were used to hold back the overskirt to make the most of the precious petticoats. A particularly ornate method was to bunch up the overskirt like a bustle and fasten it in place with a ribbon attached to the shoulders of the bodice. These quilted garments became so valuable that even a wealthy woman would be honored to receive a worn underskirt as a gift. While the design of the overskirts changed and eventually the split disappeared, quilted petticoats remained popular well into the 19th century. Imagine living in a cold, damp stone castle during the Renaissance.
Cool.
Warm quilted clothing must have been very appealing.
For sure.
I know that on a trip to England and Scotland during March and April a few years ago,
I
wondered how people managed to
yeah,
stay warm
Ivana,
enough,
totally. Like
even
totally.
in the small cottages I went through.
And it's true, by the way, that the quilted... I mentioned this in my fashion lecture for folks who were there. Molly, you were there. You know, I showed a picture of the petticoats. I mean, the quilted skirts from 18th century? Yeah, like 18th century England. I mean, on some inventories... quilts actually, so if you saw quilts on inventories from that time, they actually meant the skirts, the petticoat like skirts. That was called a quilt. And so I mean 1000%, like these quilted things. I mean the thing is, like, it's true, like Morocco, they found Moroccan rugs and things that are quilted, and like slippers and things. I mean, when you quilt something, when you put 3 layers together and stitch it together, it's warmer. So, yeah, totally. I mean, quilting things makes a lot of sense.
Bed coverings were also quilted for warmth. Cottages as well as castles were drafty places to live. Quilts were used as blankets. In addition, beds were draped with quilted curtains to keep out the cold.
Yeah.
Women made their own
There you
quilted
go.
clothes,
That's what I'm talking about.
hangings, and bed coverings.
Mm-hmm.
Common people and nobles
Yeah.
alike made quilts. In time,
Totally,
they would
Kitty.
bring the craft of quilting to the New World. By the time America was colonized in 1620, European women were thoroughly skilled in the art of quilting. Girls learned to sew when they were 3 or 4 years old.
No.
And a girl often made her first quilt at the age of 5. When a young woman was ready for marriage, it was customary for her...
Okay, so, I mean, we do know, and we've talked about this, like, that is not true. The colonists were not making patchwork quilts. They may have been sewing, well, I mean, 1,000%. But I mean, I don't know. If we haven't talked about this before, I'm sure we have. But, like, the colonists were not, they didn't have any fabric because they were making their own. I mean, they had fabric, but they were making their own. Age 5. Yeah, I know. A 3-year-old sewing, like, no. Yeah, I didn't even think about that part. Yeah, totally. So, but I mean, when the colonists were here, it was before the Industrial Revolution, and so you're making your cloth out of flax or wool, and so you don't have any. So, I mean, if you think about the Greeks, the Greeks were weaving cloth, and then they would drape it, and pin it, because when you have to work that hard to make a length of cloth, you're not going to cut it up to sew it back together to make something else. I mean, you lose the seam allowance. Like, it just didn't. You might have you totally would have used scraps to put them together. Molly would not trust a 3-year-old with a needle. Yeah, exactly. And like, you don't make a scrap quilt unless you have a lot of fabric left over, from other things. And so scrap quilts and, making do, of course, subsistence quilts are a thing, everyday quilts, utility quilts, totally. But you don't, the colonists weren't making scrap quilts. I mean, the quilts that were made at that time were made by rich ladies who had time, and they had help, and they had, the ability to do this fine, fancy needlework on whole cloth quilts. And most of them bought them anyway. They bought them, they didn't make them. So, because that's said in this video, it's like, it's like a little bit lame. So Demented made her first sewn linen items at 5. So, yeah. So anyway, so whenever I hear that, like, it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that fabric got so cheap, so inexpensive. I mean, relatively speaking, of course, not everybody could afford it, but I mean, fabric went from being like $5 a yard when it was imported from England and India to being really, 5 cents a yard when we started producing it ourselves on the continent, the American continent. And it was cheap because, slave labor was being used to pick the cotton, and child labor was being used to produce the fabric, in the South and in New England, respectively. And so that's why it got so cheap, and that's why people could afford to buy all this fabric. And so when you see these quilts, these scrap quilts from, 1820, 1850, 1880 with like a zillion fabrics in them, like Rebecca Scattergood, all of her quilts with these like extraordinary fabrics. There's like 80 fabrics or 100 fabrics in some of these quilts. It's because they could buy enough fabric to have some left over, and they had a scrap bag because there was so much fabric they could play with it. Anyway, so yeah. Anne Hathaway. Oh, that's right. Okay, wait a minute. Nose to quilts. You know what? Anne Hathaway. See, I gotta watch myself. Because I'm like, Shakespeare's wife, that's crap. Wait a minute, but Anne Hathaway, wasn't she Henry VIII's wife? We gotta get through this video.
Completed 12 quilts.
I'm zipping
as
it.
well as one extra quilt top of intricate design. This one was designated as her marriage quilt and was covered with a profusion of appliqued roses, bells, and hearts.
It happened later, though.
When the Pilgrims boarded the Mayflower in 1620, it is likely that they brought their quilts. They needed those quilts.
The Pilgrims.
The weather of New England would turn out to be very severe. In fact, without any guidebooks to tell them what to expect, only half of the Pilgrims survived the first winter in the New World.
Gee, they should have had more quilts.
Colonial homes were unbelievably cold and drafty in winter. Even as late as 1717,
Oh my God.
one man wrote in his diary, "My ink freezes so that I can hardly write by a good fire." People slept under layers of quilts trying to stay warm. Women quickly adapted quilting to their way of life in the colonies to provide enough warm bedding for their families. They began wearing sewing bags at their waists.
I know.
In the bags were fabrics for quilt patches,
Good night,
needles,
so on.
scissors, and thread. When a woman had a few minutes
Yeah,
to spare,
no, it's true,
she
Jade
reached into
Enster.
the bag, selected several pieces of fabric, and seamed them together. In time, she had completed a quilt. Quilting materials became a status symbol. A soap.
Jade Enster, you're not wrong. But she just talked about this wedding quilt thing and showed, this beautiful applique quilt. And it's not, and the whole cloth quilts too, the thing is with that, the whole cloth quilts, so many of them from that period, and look, I gotta say this, I should say it more often. I'm not a historian. I'm a fan of history. If you know Dan Carlin, who does the Hardcore History podcast, it's really good, really nerdy. He says that. He's not a historian. He's not an academic. He didn't go to school for history, but he's a fan of history, and he loves this stuff. So same. So I'm still learning with you all. But a lot of those whole cloth quilts, the ones that remain are so fancy, and it was the people who had a lot of money and time who could do that. And it's very possible that the people who didn't have a lot of time to make whole cloth quilts that were so fancy, these Calamanco quilts, they might have, those quilts might have disappeared because the people who made them were not wealthy. They couldn't hang on to them for one reason or another. But you're absolutely right that whole cloth quilts were made at that time. I've seen...
Sewing bag was often decorated with elaborate designs, and the owner liked to be caught wearing it so that it could be admired.
Okay. Bonnie, thank you.
A homemaker might plan her day so that she patched worn everyday quilts in the morning, probably the origin of patchwork quilts. In the afternoons, when visitors called, she would work on her best quilts, which displayed her finest workmanship. When evening came, she sat and cut scraps from her scrap basket into squares, triangles, and other shapes to be arranged into patterns, to be sewn into quilts. No scrap of cloth was wasted, no matter how small. Colonial Americans often wore an article of clothing for many years before it wore out. They patched holes in a jacket or dress until it could hold no more patch.
Because that's not a colonial house, though, is it? I don't know. Okay, I actually don't know that.
It was recycled. It was cut up and put in the scrap basket.
By candlelight,
Each scrap had its own story.
That lady's gonna catch fire.
Fabrics were homespun, made from homegrown flax and wool. These early quilts were stuffed with almost anything on hand, including native grasses, corn husks, straw, hay, milk.
Is that true? Hay? Well, no, I don't know. See, I don't know. I don't know.
And even letters from home. The British wanted the American colonies to purchase cloth and
I want a source, because that's amazing. If that's true, it's amazing.
Other goods from England, so they restricted cloth making in America. The American Revolution brought an end to British rule and trade restrictions. By the early 1800s, fabric had become more plentiful, and quilt making grew to be an even more popular pastime.
Yeah? Bonnie?
Gradually, the hit-or-miss patching designs of the early colonial days were replaced with intricate applique
Bonnie,
piecework.
You know some stuff.
Patterns were given names such as Pine Tree,
I believe you.
Delectable Mountains, Log Cabin, Postage Stamp, and Rose of Sharon.
Those came later.
They came later. With patterns like 54-40 Fight, Wig Rose, and Clay's Choice. Farm equipment and household utensils were translated into such patterns as Mill Wheel, Churn Dash, and Monkey Wrench.
Your allergies.
Those patterns were enthusiastically exchanged and became known by different names in different communities.
Yeah, so demented.
The bear's paw design in Kentucky was called duck's foot in the mud, where bears were not a threat to life and limb. In Philadelphia Quaker communities, this very same pattern became hand of friendship.
You guys are hilarious. I mean, you're really...
To add to the confusion, a certain design in one community...
Here's the thing, and we may have moved on from the American Revolution, but like the Whig Party, I mean, I don't want to open up the browser because it might kick out the video, but I mean, when was the Whig Party? I mean, if you're conflating like Whig Party and the American Revolution, like didn't the Whig Party come later? Anyway.
Community might have a completely different name in another part of the country. And of course, the Bible had a strong influence.
I'll tell you something, Word and Bird Nerd,
who designed patterns named for biblical events and people, such as Star of Bethlehem and Crown of Thorns, also known as New York Beauty, Tennessee Beauty, and Rocky Mountain Road. Remember what I said about quilts having different names in different parts of the country?
Mm-hmm.
Although piecing and applique can be done by one person, quilting the finished product was often done by a group. As a result, our ancestors developed the famous community quilting bees. Women were not encouraged to congregate in groups, but colonial town fathers generously sanctioned a day for community quilting. On that day, women took their finished quilt tops along with baskets of food.
Whig Party, 1834 to 54. Before the Civil War, exactly. Yeah. Quilts in art, exactly, Susan. Yeah, I mean, she might not have said, you know, the American Revolution and the Whig Rose close together. And the thing is, you know, it's like, whatever, except that, I don't know. The real story is so good. You know, the real story of the evolution of it is so good. And look, I gave a lecture at some point, you know, early on in my time really getting into quilt history. It was like full of errors, you know, and like it still is now, but a few of these things, it's like the real story is like so good. Okay.
Food to the largest home or building in town. The
10
best
minutes
quilters
left.
were invited to work at the frames, while poor quilters and latecomers were relegated to the kitchen to prepare the food. Late in the day, husbands and children
that's
joined
right,
the
Bonnie.
group, and a feast was shared by the whole community. Usually 7 or 8 quilts were finished at the bee.
I like this kid with the
A popular
apple.
product of the bee was the Freedom Quilt, made to celebrate a young man's 21st birthday. Until his coming of age, each male was obliged to give all of his earnings to his parents, who used the money to help sustain the family. At 21, he was free to control his own earnings. However, his freedom was often short-lived. Many Freedom Quilts were given directly to the young men's fiancés,
Susan.
who also received bridal quilts. The Freedom
I'm a
Quilt custom
non-joiner too.
dried out in the 1800s, but the quilting bee continues to this day. The 19th century was the flowering of American quilt making. Many women made traditional quilts. Patterns for these quilts were handed down from mother to daughter. The cloth and colors changed, but the pattern designs stayed the same. Other women made their own designs, and often these quilts had special themes.
That's a crazy quilt. 1880-ish.
When machinery of all kinds made its way into our country and westward expansion was made easy by the burgeoning railroads, a new prosperity began to blossom. The fashionable thing to do with this new prosperity, especially for the women in cities and towns, was to acquire machine-made goods. This began to spell the demise of handwork, including quilting. Quilting was more or less relegated to rural areas and the sections of the country that were not enjoying their share of this prosperity. The appearance of the sewing machine in the 1860s just about put an end to the cherished institution.
What? That is not true. I'm sorry. No.
Known as the quilting bee. Near the end of the 1800s, quilt fashions, like clothing fashions, changed. People no longer wanted to make pieced or applique.
That is like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, you guys, like a golden era. Look, I mean, a golden era. They may have been right about some things, and that's totally cool. And like, it's all good, you know? But like, I mean, 1839, 1820, 1876. Like, I'm going through this book, and it's just like, it's not correct. It's not correct. Like, an amazing era of quilt making in America was like 1850 to like 1910. And then it kept going. I mean, I might have been wrong about Shakespeare and Anne Hathaway, but...
Quilts. They made a new style.
And I don't know, 1870 is when I've heard, that the sewing machine was kind of widely available, but I don't know that much about the sewing machine thing, but...
A quilt called the Crazy Quilt. Crazy quilts were sewn from bits of fancy cloth and were covered with decorative threadwork or embroidery. Soft velvet, shiny satin, and rich brocade were used instead of solid colored cottons and calicos. In time, however, people lost interest in crazy quilts, and quilt making itself lost its popularity. It looked for a while that quilt making would become another lost art that was only practiced by a few obscure people in places unknown. The end of World War I signaled the beginning of an era of affluence and optimism unparalleled in America's history. For the first time, increased applications of technology blessed the middle class with both leisure time and the money to enjoy it.
What?
Being entertained was suddenly everyone's prerogative. Motion pictures and radio found a spot in everyone's heart. Keeping up with the Joneses became of paramount importance.
Oh, really?
The age of consumerism had begun.
Ah, that's
During
true.
the decade of the 1920s, when machines made almost anything possible,
Yeah.
odd nostalgia surfaced.
Oh, yeah, that's good, Rob.
Collecting antiques became all the rage. and the
For who? For who? Collecting antiques became all the rage? Yeah, my grandma in Mississippi was collecting antiques like there was no tomorrow. She was so excited.
Quilting experienced an unprecedented renaissance.
In the 20s?
Then came the crash, which put this country into the worst economic condition it ever experienced. During the Great Depression of the 1930s, however, interest in quilting was revived. How it came alive again is interesting. The Depression put many
Oh my God. So, honey, totally. It's biased against quilting. I think you got it. Like, you completely got it. I think we are missing a sound cue, which is like, da-da-da, like, yes. I mean, like, the 20s, like, sort of, but, like, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know.
A lot of work. To help create jobs for these people, the government started a special program called WPA.
Yes.
Or Works Progress Administration. If you can say you can remember the WPA, you're really dating yourself. Under the WPA, roads and buildings were built.
None of these quilts are WPA quilts, but that's fine.
Forests were planted, books and plays were written, and the arts and crafts were encouraged and supported.
It was
in
amazing.
general.
It's really true.
Craftspeople were encouraged to make and sell their crafts. The art of quilt making came back to life. Just as in pioneer days, the choice of fabric was limited because no one had the money for new or fancy cloth. Quilts made of cotton and calico became popular again.
Feed sacks, perhaps? No, actually, that came later. Sorry.
In the 1960s, a tremendous upsurge of interest in quilting began and is
Kit quilts? It's fine.
continuing. Displays, classes, workshops, and literature about quilting have enjoyed great popularity. More Americans have become aware of this valuable heritage. The value of family quilts is greatly enhanced, and
It's the 70s. I think she means the 70s. I think the writer of the thing means the 70s.
lucky are those who have kept their grandmother's quilts. Quilts are proudly displayed in many museums as true works of art.
Dee Dee.
And in fact, the American Quilting Society has built a museum in Paducah, Kentucky, under the direction of Meredith Schroeder, president, and her husband, Bill. It is entirely devoted to quilts and quilting. So far, we have given all of the credit for patchwork quilts to women, probably because they have created most of the quilts that have been made. There are men involved in this craft, too. Some of them are well known. For example, when Calvin Coolidge, our 30th president, was a boy, he was ill for a long time. To take his mind off his illness, his mother taught him to cut and sew fabric squares. He chose a pattern called baby blocks.
Robin, do not choke on your 7-Up. Sorry. Do not die by 7-Up. Do not squirt. If you have to, squirt.
Later, the blocks that he had pieced
You guys are
together
so funny.
were made into a quilt.
I just love hanging out with
The
you.
Shelburne Museum in Shelburne, Vermont, has a complicated and beautiful quilt made by a soldier who fought in the Civil War. Injured in the war, he made the quilt while confined to his bed. Part of this quilt is made of triangles sewn together. The rest is made up of cloth shapes of people, horses, birds.
Can we see it? No? Okay.
Hearts and stars. This old quilt has an unusual, original design.
There's just
and it has held
4
up
minutes
well
left.
for more than 100 years. Today, one of our finest quilt makers is a man named Michael James, who produces beautiful, colorful, abstract quilt
Bonnie, I
designs.
love you. Harry Truman.
So much for the men
That's
in our
amazing.
craft, and so much for the history of this wonderful, fascinating, satisfying craft.
Oh, that's a cool picture.
Don't worry about being inexperienced when you start quilting.
True.
Our pioneering ancestors didn't. Don't be afraid to let your hands guide you, even if they make a few mistakes. They are not really mistakes, you see. They're humility marks. My husband carves birds, and when he makes a little mistake, he says, the only one who will know is another bird carver or another bird.
Oh, okay. Fabulous. Like, that's amazing. I love it. I love it. And she did write this, it sounds like, so it's all good. You're wrong about a lot of stuff. Okay.
You can think of yourself as a kind of inventor as you go along.
I love that.
Turn your imagination and creativity loose. In the end, your quilt will be that much more beautiful.
Agreed.
Because you designed and sewed it
Approved.
yourself. Yes. Let me finish by reading a beautiful passage from Aunt Jane of Kentucky by Eliza Calvert Hall.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it sums up what quilting and life is all about. How much peace in a quilt is like living a life. Many a time I've sat and listened to Parson Page preaching about predestination and free will.
Agreed,
and I've
Ivana.
said to myself, if I could just get up there in the pulpit with one of my quilts, I could make life a heap plainer than Parson's making it with his big words.
Padma,
You see,
I agree. Myra,
to
I
make
agree.
a quilt, you start out with just so much calico. You don't go to the store, pick it out and buy it, but the neighbors give you a piece here and there, and you'll find you have a piece left over every time you've cut out a dress, and you just take whatever happens to come. That's predestination. But when it comes to cutting out the quilt, why, you're free to choose your own pattern.
It's true.
Give the same kind of
Damn it.
pieces to two persons. One will make a 9-patch, and the other one will make a wild goose chase. So there'll be two quilts made of the same pieces, just as different as can be. That's the way of living. The Lord sends us the pieces. We can cut them out, put them together pretty much to suit ourselves.
That's right.
There's a heap more in the cutting out and the sewing than there is in the calico.
Oh, maybe that's her.
Thanks.
Maybe that's her. Okay, Mary, we share a name, and you know what? I mean, it's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. Cast not the stone, for ye shall be stoned. No, I mean, come on. It's all good. I don't know. I don't know everything. There's a few things that were wrong, but you know what? You know what I did? Can I tell you what I did once? I published an article in Quilt Folk magazine, and I was the editor, and I don't know how it happened. I mean, when I literally die, and my life flashes before my eyes, I will remember this humiliating, horrifying moment of my life. I wrote an article, and it was a difficult season in my life, it's true, but I wrote this article, and somehow I had put like placeholders in for names that I needed to fact check. Oh, I know. Yes. Yeah, that's a bad idea. Mary Kate, you might be like, wow, don't do that, editor. Well, I did it. And somehow, I never fact-checked the names. So we published an article. Oh, I won't tell you which article or which issue. I'll never tell. But the names were wrong of this woman's family. Yeah. I have never been more, I don't know. Like I said, when I die, I will remember that. The woman saw the article and emailed me and a coworker and was like, I'm devastated. Like, I got the magazine. I was so excited for my article, and the names of my family members are wrong. Yeah. I mean, just, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Because there's like wrong dates, and there's like typos, and then there's that. And I talked to a friend of mine, I mean, peer, whatever, a colleague of mine, and was like, I mean, you know how when you're really, people say like, I was so scared my knees were knocking. Well, I was driving a convertible car and a deer crashed into me and like came into the car. It's a funny story. I was fine, but like I felt like it's like belly heat on me. Anyway, it's hilarious because I was fine, but like I got out of the car and my knees actually knocked together because I was so afraid that I was like jelly. And when that magazine thing happened, when that article happened, I wanted to crawl in a hole and dig my way to China. I wanted to leave the earth. You know what I'm saying? And Bonnie, it's true. And Mary Kate, yeah, it was, yeah. And so a colleague of mine was like, well, she had a pretty good one. She was like, the first time I was editor of this publication, the spine of the book, it was a publication that was a series. And her first time being the editor of the series, she flipped the spine. She turned in the files wrong, and the spine was flipped. So in the series of publications, there's one issue where the spine is flipped. And she was like, I don't know how I survived it. I don't know how, I mean, that's one of the ones where like she'll die. So the reason I say this is because, I mean, it's just, and the thing is, that's true. You had one of those. I know. I mean, you're just, when somebody makes a mistake like that and it's not you, you're just like, oh, but sometimes it is you. And I mean, it's like when I made the video and people were accusing me of copyright infringement, or using this, someone thought I used an interview like tape or quotes from a recording. I mean, you all who experienced all that with me know that this accusation, this rumor, is completely false. And part of what was hard is that I have made mistakes in my life, in my career. I have been, I mean, that is an example. It's the worst thing, where it's just been careless, thoughtless, sloppy, you could say. I mean, I just don't know what happened. Like, what the but, lying or doing something on purpose, like, of course not. But the reason I bring all this up is to sort of like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Placeholder content. Oh, God. The reason I bring it up is like, I'm like, that's not true. Like this video that we watched, that's, how can she say that? Well, been there, Mary. Totally been there. A lot of that video was great. It takes a lot of work to make something like that. I mean, a lot of work. And so it's all good, I'm human. You're human. It's fine. And like I said, a lot of it was good. And I love that thing about the wood carving and yeah, it was great. It was great. So that's all. And it is true to like, me, Ivana, it's really true. Like, know what you like and criticize things and push against things and push back. And I need to be better at it. I do. And it's also true that like, I don't know. God, I'm so human. It's painful. So that we went 3 hours almost, y'all. Good Lord. See, and that's the thing. Everybody who I talked to about that crushing error. The other editors and things that I talk to, just like you guys are saying tonight, like, oh yeah, everybody's got one, you know, everybody's got one where someone was just devastated about their mistake, or they just, you know, they lost the respect of something, you know. Man, you know, here's a great saying. I'll leave you with this tonight. Bye, Shelley. Yeah, Bonnie, you know what year was that video? It was uploaded in 2019. I don't know that it had a date on it, but let me check. I'll leave you with this. So experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. It's pretty good, right? Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. I didn't get what I wanted, and I got some experience. And that's how, you know, you get older, and it's like, I don't know, when I was a kid, I would look at adults and be like they're completely alien, you know? They're completely alien. And they look so weird, and it's like, who, you know, and it's because the years, you know, put lines on our faces, and we have this experience and like wisdom, I guess, I hope. And if anybody's ever like, I screwed up, you know, oh God, I'll be like, yeah, it's cool. You'll get over it. I don't think I'll ever get over that one, but I can sleep at night. Finally. I couldn't for a long time. Yeah, exactly, Padma. All right, everybody. Oh, wait, here's from Natalie, my favorite quote. The so-called painful times in my life provide me with the greatest opportunity to grow. It's so true, man. It's so true. God, but it hurts. It hurts so much. You know, sometimes, sorry, feeling thoughtful. Sometimes like when I was really sick, you know, like, you know, with my gut stuff and everything. And someday I'll tell you the whole story. But, you know, I was so ill, and I would be walking along on the street, you know, eventually, and it was so bad. And I would pass somebody on the street, and I'd be like, you have no idea, like, what it's like to be me right now. Like, you just don't know. It's so bad. Like, I feel so bad, and like things are so bad. And I've always remembered that, you know, because it's like you just don't know. You're passing somebody on the city sidewalk, and their heart might be absolutely shattered. You know, they might be grieving a death in their family, or they might have gotten a diagnosis or something, you know? You just don't know. So when somebody cuts you off in traffic, you know, you gotta be like, maybe they're like going to pick up their kid, but it's, you know, it's easy to say right now because we're all like hanging out and it's like fun, you know? But everybody is a walking disaster. Who's just said that? Raffle Waffle. NDH, I care too much? Yeah, I do care too much. I'm too sensitive. I need more Novocaine at the dentist. I cry all the time. Everything's too loud. I have to hold my ears with the ambulance. I'm too sensitive. It's a problem. Anyway. Y'all are great. Wait, okay, Kenny says I had a t-shirt that said, oh no, not another learning experience. That's Quilt Nerd. You know what the Quilt Nerd t-shirt is? Oh boy, another learning experience. Y'all are great. It's so fun to go late sometimes. And yeah, I just love you to death. And so Thursday, midday show, 11 a.m. Central. This Friday's Quilter's Newsletter Friday. So get your chips. And Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Okay. Mwah. Should have been a defense attorney. Oh, yeah. This is so fun. Molly, I'm so glad you made it, and God bless you. Work from home, turn on the show. I'll see you all soon, and be well, and